famed author Clive Cussler.
The hero Dirk Pitt.
Are you suggesting your uncle went insane? The grip was as firm as a man. It heightens the pleasure. You rubbed him wrong with a middle-of-the-night phone call. Bloodthirsty, mad dog Pitt pleads guilty.
Raise the Titanic. Episode 3. The sexism is fantastic.
There was a fire alarm in my area. My poodle got so upset, he was howling at it. He projectile pooped, across the dining room.
Impressive.
I've never seen... It was impressive. Disgusting and impressive all at the same time. I've never seen any animal do that before. This dog takes his time in the yard. It's just so agitated, it just...
Not a big dog either.
No, but angry. Very murderous. Hasty.
I assume all small dogs are murderous.
It's a fair assumption. There's a woman up the street. I think it might be sexual harassment of my husband. There's a woman up the street. She's elderly. She bakes cookies. These cookies are the best cookies in the world. She's afraid of the poodle, so she won't come to the house. But if she sees my husband outside, she thinks he's really hot. Like James Bond. Hot as the sun. So I'm like, get out there, do some yard work, take off your shirt. I'm trying to spray him with a bottle, get him glistening.
Hit on the neighbor, get more cookies.
Get the cookies. And it works.
So you've gotten the free cookies, they're not just hypothetical?
No, they're free cookies. Now I talked to her as a friend. Now she only does it if he beefcakes it up.
Excellent.
So it's now a conspiracy, I think legally is the term.
Conspiracy for cookies. So I don't think you'll go to jail for that.
She wants the show. It's doing wonders for, who doesn't love being appreciated? She's not actually going to sue my husband. It's all good.
I'm pretty sure me with my shirt off would just get bylaws coming to, shut this whole situation down.
Sure not.
So I don't know if I mentioned this before or in chat or if this was just a conversation I had in my head, but my wife is way too excited to guest star on our bonus episode for the Raise the Titanic movie.
Hey!
So
that means we have to watch it.
And she is planning to not listen to our podcast, not learn anything else about Clive Cussler, only watch this movie and come in and yell at us about how we're wrong.
Oh, a cold take? Does she know the character Dirk Pitt? Or this will be her first?
She knows somewhat because I've been making fun of him for years and I'm making fun of him a lot for months ever since we started this. So okay. I'm pretty sure she knows that he's basically just a globe-trotting underwater asshole.
Okay. So it's the same way I know about the Philadelphia Eagles. They threw batteries at Santa and they have a prison in their stadium. But I don't actually watch the game.
From what I've seen of the movie, because I bounced around the middle just to make sure that it was the entire movie, he's just like a guy. He's a scientist. I have the feeling there's a lot less intrigue in the movie than there is in the book.
Oh, but the sexism has to be fantastic. I can't, especially this book. Dear God.
I guess we'll find out. But yes.
I make sure she's got brandy. You should do it. Do it up like it is 1980. 87 when you're watching the movie. Have tons of alcoholic beverages. Have a little mini bar.
Oh, absolutely.
Bring home cigarettes.
She came home from her vacation to Little Iceland, and she has a bottle of Aquavit and a bottle of Brennivin, so I'm sure we'll bust that out.
Okay. Get some chartreuse in there.
Oh, Lord.
Not a big bottle. They can't cost money. Who drinks them? Somebody will give it to you for free.
We're going to have to book this on one of the Thursdays when we have the Friday off. Because I feel...
Yes.
I feel this is going to be a bonus episode with some serious recovery time attached to it.
Oh, well, I'll take a gummy and be on the moon. I can't... I don't have the tolerance for alcohol anymore. Esophagus old lady problems. I really miss it, though.
Anyway, how was your week? Before we get started, I figure I should actually see how you're doing since I haven't talked to you in a while.
Pretty good. Weather's been very cold, and we're getting so much rain. I don't know, we're getting about 2 inches a day, which is an extraordinary amount of rain. Crops are washing away. Hay can't be baled, which is a big deal because it bursts into flames.
Yes, we have that issue here where it's either too hot or too wet. Right now, all across BC, we're setting all-time August heat records.
Well, how does it know?
Up where I am, it's not that bad. It's like, well, it was 32, 33, so I guess about 90 degrees. But I'm pretty far north, and in a swamp, so that's a lot.
So you have the humidity too. I hear that makes it better.
It's very humid. Oh my God! And when it's that humid, it doesn't cool off at night. Like at night, it just gets down to really warm, and it sucks.
It does suck, and it makes the mosquitoes stronger. They love that. Yes. I can't wait till September. Will it snow? Will there be what new weather? Something we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah, I mean that's where we're going. South America and Australia have set all-time heat records because it's winter down there. So they have set all-time winter heat records.
There was a buoy in the North Atlantic that registered 101 earlier this week, and that's the highest recorded temperature.
Hooray!
For that part of that's not supposed to happen. So, yay, end times. Let's burn this down.
Yes, we have the right podcast for this.
My favorite shot put. That sounds amazing. Tell the shot put story. There's no way we'll ever remember this again. I'm addled. You're busy. Right. It won't come up again.
The short version of the story is when she was in high school, she was the best at shot put. She beat all the girls in her class, and she beat all the boys in her class except for one. And the one boy she couldn't beat did shot put for Canada at the Olympics.
Oh my God.
But she was like, she didn't care about sports. She never pursued it. She was like, I'm only doing this because I'm in gym class and I have to pass. But
could have been.
She was built for shot put.
She wasn't if she's that tall. It's supposed to be for like little fire plug people.
She's a big fire plug.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, I would. I've been around her long enough.
Oh, okay. My husband started on me hitting him. I was enormous with the first pregnancy. Just out of control, huge. And when they take you in to get serviced for the labor, they always separate you from your husband. They say, did he hit you? What they have to do for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Does he hit you at home? Are you safe? And I was like, you don't think I could take him? He's 90 pounds over there. I could bench press him. I was just get the baby out.
You and my wife will get along just fine.
I think so. I think it'll be fine.
All right. Well, that's been a full 15 minutes. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to cut out of this, but I'm going to have to cut some of it just so people don't get bored and wonder where the Clive Cussler podcast went. So we should probably start the show.
You do the intro this time? It is your turn.
Sure. Yeah. I actually had like a bit of a script written out because I was trying to prepare for once. Welcome to Cussler.
Is that what we're doing yet?
Oh,
sorry.
Welcome to Cussler Hustlers, the only Clive Cussler podcast that knows what kangaroo tastes like.
Indeed. And that was your host, Topper. And this is your co-host, Nancy. Hello.
Hello. I'm trying to think of fun, interesting facts I can work into the introduction.
I've had kangaroo, alligator. Not hot on the alligator.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake and a sausage. But anything in a sausage really tastes like sausage.
And I figured I would give a quick recap because we've burned through 14 chapters in 2 episodes because these chapters are short, they're punchy, there's a lot of shit happening.
Yes, they are very fast chapters.
Dirk Pitt has appeared in this book for 10 seconds. There is a government skunkworks project headed by Seagram and Donner that requires the MacGuffin unobtainium called Byzanium in this book, and Seagram's wife doesn't like him. There's cover-ups of cover-ups. The Russian KGB Dirk Pitt, Captain Prevlov, is hot on their trail, maybe. And some French-financed miners from Colorado who faked their deaths in America mined all the Byzanium out of Russia in 1911, right before the Titanic set sail.
Yes. And
this book is wild.
Did we see Dirk, or does he make his... the chapters are so rapid-fire and staccato.
Dirk makes a brief entrance in... is Waddy's chapter.
16.
Ah, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dirk makes a brief entrance at the beginning of this episode.
Oh, yes.
And hopefully he agrees to show up for the rest of his own book by part 3.
Did we do chapter 15? That's where he meets Adeline.
No, we ended at chapter 14 last time, so we are starting with chapter 15.
Oh, folks, okay, let me tell you. He's calling on Adeline, who was formerly Mrs. Adeline
Seagram is.
Oh, Seagram, yes. He's doing some spy work, and he's in California, and he's going to call on the former Mrs. Hobart, who's now Mrs. Austen, because in 1910 she married Mr. Hobart, and he's the crux of the whole situation. So this is 1987. She's 93 years old?
93, yes.
And she's terrified of answering questions. She was like, oh my God, you scared the Geritol out of me. I'm like, we get it, Cussler. She's older than dirt. We understand. But some shenanigans went on when her first husband passed away, and she got a $10,000 payment in 1912. And that was a mysterious $10,000 payment in 1912, which in today's money is like $1 bazillion. I did the math.
I checked. It's $320,000 in modern money.
I knew you would have that. I knew that.
I should point out that she met Jake Hobart in 1910 at Christmas when there was a blizzard, when she was 16 and on school holidays. And this red-haired giant walks out of the snow and picks up her and her mother, like grabs them and picks them up in the middle of a snowstorm and carries them across the street. Because that's how you met ladies back then.
You've never been picked up. I have had random men pick me up off the street.
The only people I've had pick me up was at the MMA gym.
Your mom when you were born.
Yeah.
Baby arms.
And nobody else since then. But no, now that you mentioned, I have picked up women, but it's usually at metal shows, so I can hoist them up so they can see better.
Okay, that's like more consensual.
And if they ask. Asking is important.
Yes. I had a man like grab me by the waist and take me out of a train because he thought I was pretty, and he was like, hey, this stop has some great restaurants. And I was like, I'm married and I'm trying to go home. and the sheer audacity of it, I was like, you don't touch people. And yeah, that is not, or some guy thinks you're near danger and they just grab you, and yeah, this happens.
Jeez.
So she's 16, nearly a spinster. Thank God she met somebody.
Yes.
And she didn't like him at first. He's big and red-haired. So she risks an adulthood alone and waits until the end of the blizzard to agree to marry him. She really rolled the dice on the spinsterhood there.
But apparently he was nice.
He was nice. He was strong. He was big. But she's really worried to tell Seagram any details beyond that. She loves the love story and how they met, no problem. When it gets to the details, Seagram has to make a special phone call or else this lady's not going to crack.
Yes. And I remember this phone call from when I read this book years and years and years and years and years ago. Who does he call?
This phone call today would be wild.
Oh my God.
Because half the country would be like, no.
Yeah.
It would be so divisive.
You can't do this anymore, as the kids say.
Because Seagram gets the president. And this is 1987 president, so presumably Reagan or generic stand-in president.
Yeah.
To call, and she's like, oh, she swoons. Oh my God, the president. Of course, Mr. President, whatever you say. And she hangs up and she agrees to tell Seagram anything. And it's been a hot 2 decades since the last time that would have worked on anybody.
Yep.
It's the president on the phone.
She tells him that Jake knew that they were all going off to do this dangerous mining thing in Russia, and they would be absolutely super mega rich when he got back. He sent her some postcards. He wasn't supposed to. And she got one last postcard from one of the other miners when Jake died due to a snowstorm in Russia. And months later, an army colonel shows up at her door, gives her another stack of money, and swears her to secrecy. Like, the government says you can never tell anyone.
Yes, because that last postcard had informed her that her husband had died, but he had received a Christian burial or ceremony or something. Something to that effect. It
wasn't much of a burial since Copeland just found him on a bunk.
Oh, not
It's
a
a
Viking
Christian
funeral.
bunk.
I prefer my bunks to be non-denominational. It was like a permanent viewing, like Lenin.
Yeah.
He's frozen, so it's respectful.
Also, it's all... I was going to say, it's always sub-zero, so that's actually probably the best possible circumstances.
Yes, and timely reference, last week, the Washington Post found some worms in some defrosted Arctic samples.
Oh, yeah, I saw that,
to life after they were defrosted.
67,000-year-old worms or something.
Yes. And they defrosted them, and they
all
lived.
The comments are like, oh my God, put them back.
And this is how it starts. All the predictable comments. You can't tell anyone that without, like, no, this is seriously bad. Don't do that. So Jake sent 3 postcards, and then the last postcard was letting her know that he was dead, and she gets the payoff from the government saying, keep your mouth shut, toots.
Yes.
And she's widowed at 17 and a half.
But also rich, because she's gotten $500,000 equivalent in money here. So hopefully she invested that well.
Well, she's still spry at 92, so maybe her health insurance is just top notch.
Uh-huh.
Something you guys don't think about, but it really is expensive.
I do think about it.
They're making it legal now here. Doctors aren't paid by the insurance companies fast enough to make payroll. They could take out loans from the insurance companies that aren't paying them fast enough at like 30% interest.
Huh. Your country's weird.
So that's legal now. Oh, that's a word.
Yeah.
And that was chapter 15, all wrapped up. It was really short.
Chapter 16 is basically just an argument. So
Dirk controls the weather.
Yes. So Seagram is drinking at the Balboa Bay Club in L.A. There's an early evening lightning storm, and a tall, dark, cruel man appears out of the shadows. And my notes just say in big font, and I made them bold, Dirk motherfucking Pitt.
Yes, Dirk motherfucking Pitt. Really just came to say, you've been looking for me? Seagram says yes. They get into some words, and Dirk's like, go fuck yourself. And he leaves. The whole exchange takes about a minute.
Yeah.
But it's very beautiful. I mean, he's shot perfectly for this chapter. When you read it and you can see it, it's beautifully written. He's only silhouetted by cascading lightning.
Yeah.
When he makes a point, there's thunder after, like an exclamation mark. He is a god here.
Seagram asks him if he always rescues people with a loaded, silenced pistol. Dirk fires back with, Sandecker sometimes calls me with
dirty jobs.
So you get the feeling he's a Black Ops wet works kind of like assassin. And then Seagram tells him he's the worst person in the world.
He shot the dog. He gave him a real problem about shooting a dog.
Keeping in mind, this is the person who rescued his spy in northern Russia and basically tracked down the Byzanium for him. And Dirk also points out that he gave two pints of blood to Copeland during his operation, got Copeland on a plane back to America, and salvaged a spy mission that could have escalated to war, and calls Seagram an asshole, and then there's more lightning and he's gone.
Yeah, well, there's a flash of thunder to punctuate lightning, and
yes.
He disappears. Dirk is right.
Well, they're both right. It's the weird
My
thing.
question is, why the silencer in the middle of the Arctic? Seagram's having a tough time. I mean, his marriage is in shambles.
Yes.
The president openly cucks him at dinner parties.
Oh my God, chapter 19.
By hitting on his wife. Yeah, prelude. He's having a real hard time.
Yes.
And he wants a baby on top of this to fix his marriage.
More and more, I think he's going to have the ending where either like he falls in love with Dana again and they have a kid, or he dies heroically. Like it has to go one extreme or the other.
Well, we'll never know. Mysteries about.
Yeah, we'll never reach the end of this book.
That's the end of chapter 16. It was like a paragraph.
Yeah. Also, 17 and 18 are pretty much just paragraphs as well.
Cussler is shooting these words into you.
Wait, are we still doing phrasing?
If you're not reading them fast, they have to hurt a little bit. Read fast.
I have half a page of notes for chapter 19. Like all the other chapters are like 3 notes.
Chapter 17 and a half. A page. Prevalov sees Professor Bashaw for some establishing exposition. The old line has no record. The one that we discovered at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
They figure out it wasn't an old Russian mine because the dead guy in the mine had U.S. mining equipment and an epitaph or some words of condolence written near him that were in American English with slang.
Yeah. So more and more he's on the trail of Dirk Pitt.
And then he tells Prevalov, oh, no. Prevalov and the professor agree, yes, it wasn't the Russians. And then we go back to Mr. Marganian,
I think.
Okay, Marganian. He's some kind of spook. He's telling whatever he knows about Prevalov. He knows he's sleeping with a hot lady with black hair. She wears red bottom shoes, which are really extra hot because those are like $1,000 a pair. And she's from the American Embassy. He's
one of the underlings at the KGB, so he's like subservient to Prevalov, but he's hoping he can backstab his way to the top. So he's passing off all this information to some other spy. Like they're meeting on a bench in a park, while they're having lunch, like every spy movie does, and like not looking at each other while passing information back and forth.
Which is the most... I had to spend a day once in Central Park taking pictures every 5 minutes for a time-lapse project. Being alone on a park bench is the most... People are concerned if you were just alone on a park bench. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you taking pictures? If I was sitting there eating soup, police would have arrested me, I'm sure. I mean, it's just sitting alone on a park bench is like, clearly you're a spy. This is where spies meet. They feed the ducks. They don't talk. They don't look at each other. You're doing the spy thing.
But don't worry. At the end of that chapter, they agree to meet in 6 days' time at 6:40 p.m. in the men's toilet of a nearby restaurant. Nothing suspicious there.
I always plan to meet men across town in the men's room. I'll meet you next to urinal number 2.
It's the 80s. It was different.
Oh, yeah. I guess men went to urinals and they stood next to each other even if all the other stalls were open.
Yes, those are the worst.
I'm told that's very rude behavior.
It is very rude, and the only people who do it to me consistently are my bosses. So I can't be like, fuck off, because it's my boss.
What?
He'll be at the one next to me like, hey, Topper, how's it going? You know, like, what projects are you working on right now? And I'm like, we're both peeing. Why are you doing this? But I'm like, okay, I'm making small talk. And
I heard years ago a woman passed me toilet paper because my stall was out. And he was like, a woman was in the stall next to you? Isn't that like a Nona? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And then he explained the whole urinal thing where you don't just stand next to somebody at a urinal. It never occurred to me that your boss can be there. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Why never leave my house? It's difficult. Oh my God.
My boss or my boss's boss or the guy who owns the company, like, the only people who are that conversational are the ones with enough power to never be self-conscious or doubt themselves.
What happens to the people that are just born with self-doubt?
Oh, me?
Yeah, me too.
I panic a little bit. It's fine.
It's so bizarre. Thank you for that insight into the difficulties of being a man that I never would have. Oh my God, that's a nightmare unlocked.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's like I listened to the Penn Jillette podcast, and he falls asleep with headphones in,
Yeah.
and it caused a mushroom growth in his ear canal.
Yeah. That's not something you want to hear.
Which is apparently very painful and extraordinarily gross.
Yeah.
We'll pass them on to you.
Well, thanks, because I have headphones in constantly, and I'm always thinking, like, I hope this isn't bad for my ears. And now I know it is. Thanks. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm always wearing headphones, and I live in a humid place. He lives in Las Vegas. It shouldn't be possible to grow mushrooms anywhere in Las Vegas.
He found a way.
So the fear is real. Chapter 17 is, oh, yeah, I'll meet you across town in the men's bathroom. Chapter 18, I got nothing.
Well, that was chapter 18, was the men's bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Now we're on chapter 19 with Dana and the president.
Wait. My first note for this chapter is what the actual fuck. This chapter is...
That's how all my notes end for this chapter.
Mrs. Dana Seagram is freshly perfumed. She's dressed up to get messed up, as the kids would say.
Yeah, they establish very quickly that she's wearing a white dress over black lingerie, and she meets the president's personal secretary, who is a young, fresh-faced man with a pretty face. So I'm counting that. We're up to 4 sexy secretaries now.
You're counting that guy. Okay. But that's very... That's wonderful.
There's one for the ladies.
Yeah, he threw that in for the ladies. That half sentence of that man who had no name. So he just objectified a man, didn't even give him a name.
Yep.
We get one. Yes. Mrs. Dana Seagram really wants to bang the president. She's like, but the secretary takes her to see a ship in a bottle. And she's like, you gotta be kidding. I actually have to do the work thing? I was here on the pretense. I thought we all established the pretense.
The secretary says, oh, no, he's out golfing. He just wants you to have a look at this ship in a bottle and try to identify it because, she works for Numa. But then she goes to the bathroom and has like a little freak out and comes back out, and there's the president with like a cognac by the fireplace.
I was just thankful it wasn't chartreuse. At least this lady's and president is sane. You'd have to Article 25 him if he's got chartreuse on hand. And she was like, oh, I was beginning to think you actually wanted me to identify that ship in a bottle. And he yammers on, it was his dad. It's something, not mystery. You're here to do this. You have to keep your husband happy for the next 16 months. And I hear you will have his baby. My God, I would have murdered him.
That's one of the lines I really have to highlight at the end of this chapter.
So think about it. You're this broad. Your husband, you're not getting along. Times are tough. You're 31, old and withered. A man hasn't hit on her in ages, she says, because she's over the hill at 31.
In her own words, nobody would want to sleep with a drab, married 31-year-old.
The wrinkles have to be just falling, just cascading wrinkles. She thought she was going to Pound Town.
Yeah.
She's thwarted. She's reminded that she's old. By herself, granted.
The president does apologize, although I'm a bit confused by the line, "It was never my intention to seduce you when I whispered I must meet you alone."
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's like all those guys who gets down to tie a shoe but pretends to propose. Like, oh, honey, it's a joke. Why are you upset?
But yeah, the president has to keep Seagram sane for 16 more months because this is the most important project in American history. And he won't say what it is. They just keep saying the Sicilian project. But like, it's super duper that important.
And he's coming a little unraveled. So the president is concerned about his mental state and wants to keep him together. I'm sorry, if this was me, if I'm miserable at home, I think I'm finally going to get some physical contact with somebody. And it's the president. It's high stakes. I mean, this is prestigious. It's a notch on the lipstick case. You're going to tell all your friends. You're thwarted. You're going to hurt this man physically. It's the 80s. You're going to throw wine at him. The cognac's going to be all over his head.
You whack him with the ship in a bottle.
Secret Service would get involved.
Yes,
it's right there.
Although, on her way out, the president does grab her and kiss her and reassures her that she is desirable.
And that makes it all better.
All better. There was one line I had to highlight, and you let me know if there is actually any subtext to this, or if it has any meaning nowadays. But it was when he said, "I can order a war, I can order men to die, but even the president can't make a woman have a baby."
Yeah, it turns out not true.
Pretty...
Turns out they can get enough people in the Supreme Court. There's only 12 of them on the Supreme Court, or, 9.
9.
I'm sorry, it's 9. It's 9. Only 9 people to buy off for the Federal Society.
Yeah, get some vacations in there.
Yeah, like 30 of them.
Maybe.
Some of them were quite traveled. But yeah, times have changed. Look at that.
Yes.
This president would have been awesome.
There was something that happened in the news today. Like, I read it on the news tonight, that there was a judge in, I want to say Louisiana. I would have to double check. I'm probably going to have to cut this just because it's not completely accurate. But this judge just made a ruling in some abortion case in one of the states down there.
We have 50, so.
I guess they didn't watch their tracks very well. And some reporters very quickly found a lot of payments made to that judge's wife from the people who were prosecuting this case. Like, very recent payments from the very recent people that this judge just ruled in favor of.
Well, in Kentucky, the local police shut down a newspaper, like went in there and without a warrant took all of their computers and cell phones and personal devices.
I think I heard about that.
And we're like, where? Too bad, so sad. You can't tell anybody about this because we took all your stuff.
Yeah.
Now the FBI is looking into it.
Oh, super. They'll get to the bottom of it.
So there's no laws anymore.
It'll be just like that line from the Jeff Burner song.
At first the situation makes the lawmen look so filthy, but they investigate themselves and it turns out that they're not guilty.
Yes. That's, the police have the internal affairs. You see, they've done a full investigation on themselves and they found themselves not guilty.
But anyway, that brings us to chapter 20.
Chapter 20. So Dana, fresh from her disappointment with the president, picks up her husband from the airport. And he's like, whoa. He's really shocked.
Yeah.
He's like, she likes me? She's picking me up? And
shocked
she's trying to...
And suspicious.
And then pouty.
Yes, they talk about Dirk Pitt. He says that he's an asshole, and Dana's like, he's actually really nice. He's a legend, actually. And he's a war hero, and he has a huge list of achievements, and he's the senator's son. And Seagram was like, nah, fuck him.
To be fair, if I get home and I'm ranting about somebody that I really hate, and
your wife that you're on the rocks with is like, oh, he's the best.
listing all the good traits, come on, that's a bit much.
Okay, that might actually hurt my feelings. But yeah, she hits on him. She like rubs his leg, and she's like, "How about we go get some drinks and then go home?" And he's just like, "No, fuck you, I'm going to work."
And she's like,
I tried.
Yeah. The fate of the world hangs on their marriage, so she better try harder.
Chapter 21, Another very short chapter.
Chapter 20.
Yeah, we're flying through these.
Yeah.
Because they're 1 page long. Chapter 22 is a big one, and that's actually where we're going to end, is at the end of chapter 22, because I have a full page of notes for that.
Okay, I'll let you summarize, because I did not get to 22.
Oh, okay.
I had to paint.
All right. Well, first, chapter 20, or do you want to handle chapter 21?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Chapter 21 is Seagram is at work. He's at the office. He's at the secret Sicilian project Skunk Works that is disguised as a moving company. And he's meeting with the captain and a colonel from the military archives, and he's being given the Code 5 top secret confidential files on the Coloradans. And it contains 4 files. A report on the uses of Byzanium, correspondence between the Ministry of War and Joshua Brewster, who was the head miner in charge of the Coloradans, mining the Byzanium, notes about a secret military project using Byzanium from like 1910, and notes about the eventual disappearance of Brewster, and then a copy of Brewster's diary. So Seagram makes a whole bunch of illegal copies and then barfs.
Oh, yes, because the folder that's given to him with this information, I think when Congress or the Senate has to look at secret documents, it's in Vespers. So it's in a room with a table and a chair.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have devices, no copy machine, no other exits. I don't know how it is for fire safety, but, for document safety, it's supposed to be secure. He's got somebody in a wall.
Yeah, because this is their secret skunk work, so he has like a secret wall with people behind it. So the captain and the colonel are like, okay, you can read this alone in your office, but when you're done, like, we can't leave here without these documents. So Seagram's like, okay, I'm going to read these. He sits down, the wall opens, a guy walks out, and he's like, make copies.
It was like the cuckoo clock of espionage, where Duke comes out, boop, 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 make the copies. I just have a problem with the order of operations. Make copies first. Why keep the guy waiting?
He had to read it and find out if there was anything important in there. And it was so goddamn important that he had to go throw up.
Maybe he's pregnant. They were trying for a child.
I do want to end with chapter 22, because chapter 22 ends part 2, and it ends at the exact halfway point in the book. Chapter 22, the president is meeting at a cabin somewhere with Seagram and Donner.
Well, no, it's Camp David. They're at Camp David.
Is it Camp David? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I must have glossed over that, but they were meeting somewhere, I guess, somewhat private. The president makes fun of Donner for being fat, and they discuss Brewster's journal, an account of early 20th century intrigue and human suffering.
Wait, he makes fun of Donner for being fat out of nowhere. It's just mean for no reason.
Yes.
Donner's like, he's like, I'm sorry, it's 7 a.m. I had to call you guys in early. And Donner's like, oh no, I'm usually jogging at this time. Clearly trying to just say, it's no trouble. I'm always awake, Mr. President.
Yes. He's
and
like, I might have saved you from a heart attack. You're fat.
Do you play sports? Where do you the ball? So it's just needlessly mean.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of... They go over so much history, so much conspiracy wall, so much string tied to other string. But really, the important thing that they get to is the French were dead set on getting all the Byzanium they could. Like, they had some use for it in 1910. And it was because they found out that it was very similar to radium, which was huge at the time. Like, there was radium springs and there was radium medical therapy.
Well, this is going out to people who listen to podcasts, so everyone knows about radium. They've all heard Radium Girls on several vehicles out there. They know about the radium watchdials. Listeners of podcasts know about radium.
But radium was very hard to process, and Byzanium was very easy to process. So an ounce of Byzanium was worth $1.4 million in 1910 money, which means an ounce of Byzanium is worth $45 million today. And the French figured there were 600 ounces in that mountain. So we're into the umpteen, I believe that's $3 billion worth of Byzanium. And they worked out this deal with Brewster because Brewster, when he was up there running a lead mine for the Russians, he found this mountain with Byzanium and brought back samples, and that's how the French tracked him down. And there's a whole bunch of backstabbing and back and forth, but only Brewster knows where the Byzanium mountain is. So the French have to hire him, and he hires the Coloradans, and they all go there to mine the Byzanium out. But they all know they're going to get killed the second they're done, because the French don't want to share the $3 billion haul. So Brewster makes a deal with the American military to get picked up at the Byzanium mountain in Russia early, and they get picked up and loaded all on. and they're heading for home, but the French are on top of them.
Normally an ideal situation.
But the American boat had a 5-inch deck gun, so they shoot their way to Scotland, and then they have to haul the Byzanium across all of England on foot, fighting French spies and getting killed back and forth for weeks and weeks, until eventually 2 of them left, load the Byzanium onto a safe on the Titanic, and Brewster gives his diary to the other guy and says, I'll escort this home. If I don't make it, you have my diary. And that's when the president finds out, and they all find out, that all the Byzanium in the world is at the bottom of the fucking Atlantic on the Titanic.
Yeah, that's... In 1987, $1 billion... How many? $3 billion?
Yeah, $3 billion.
That's...
And I cut so much out of that because Cussler, I don't know how much research and note-taking he did. There's an entire adventure novel in this one chapter.
Gee, I didn't get to the rest of it. I can't wait now.
Oh, it's wild. You will enjoy it. But that was the Cliff's Notes for our readers.
All right.
But basically, chapter 22 would make a pretty sweet movie all by itself.
When he likes the details, he really wallows in them, like a dog in skunk scent on the grass. He rolls around in it. He loves petty details.
But this chapter ends with a line that would be in a terrible movie, and I hope they do it exactly like this. Because the president says, Seagram says, we have no choice. We raised the Titanic. And the president says, yes, by God, we raised the Titanic. He put the title in twice. And that's the end of section 2.
Maybe he just had a baby. If you had a toddler, you have to repeat things over and over and over.
You've got pregnancy brain.
You just get into the habit. Yeah, maybe you can have that.
And next week, we'll be getting into section 3, the Black Abyss, which I bet has something to do with the ocean.
For a very short book, to have 3 parts, he is shooting for the moon here. He is aspirational. 3 parts.
I'm guessing there's 4 parts.
It's like an intermission. I feel like when you get to a part, when it says part 2, I feel like you should get up and walk around.
Yeah.
Maybe have some popcorn.
I'm guessing there's 4 parts because we just got to the end of part 2 and we're at exactly the halfway mark on the audiobook. So he nailed the intermission here.
Yes. I'm betting it's mathematically 4 parts. Because that strikes me as the kind of guy he is. If it's an odd number, I don't think he would have printed it.
And there had really better be some more Dirk Pitt in this book. Because so far Dirk Pitt has shot a dog, shot a man, and then called Seagram an asshole. And that's all the Dirk we've gotten in this. This is what the goddamn podcast is about. You're making it very difficult.
Oh, that's a perfect man. He comes here to the Arctic with a silencer because that's needed. He's prepared for nothing and everything all at once.
Only murder.
Goddamn right. Shoot that dog. Shoot that rescue dog.
So he stabbed the dog to death in the first book. Did any dogs die in Iceberg? I don't think so. There was a lot of dead people.
No, they just traumatized children at Disney World or Disneyland.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Like all the very young tourists coming through, seeing
on the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Very traumatic bloodshed.
Got to watch
which is naturally
people get stabbed and have Rondheim get all of his limbs broken one by one.
No problems there.
Good times. No. That's the Magic Kingdom, goddammit.
That was the 80s and we don't talk about it anymore.
That was the 70s.
Oh, that was the 70s. Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah, that's why there's a 10-year lag.
Yeah.
Dirk
was in therapy.
He was getting medical attention.
Yeah.
Oh, therapy, for sure.
Although his therapy was nymphomaniacs and whiskey.
Oh, what's the stuff they drink in Chicago?
Malort?
Malort. He's probably a Malort guy.
Oh, God.
It's something painful and just...
It's actually really good.
Dreadful to drink.
You have to have a refined palate.
You are lying.
That's what he would say. I kind of like Jaeger, and I've heard people say, no, this is so much worse than Jaeger, and nobody likes Jaeger. People like Jaeger as a means to an end of getting drunk, and I actually kind of like it.
My best friend loves Jaeger, and she's like a 40-something woman. She's like, no, it's medicinal. I said, no, that's alcoholism.
But it has herbs and spices.
She's like, if you get sick, you have this, and you get better right away. She's like, within 3 days. So most things clear up within 3 days.
Yeah, but the alcohol makes it more fun.
I'm not here to ruin science.
No, Clive Cussler's here for that.
he just ruins marriages.
Yeah. Oh, no, Dirk is here for that.
Have the baby, lady. Save the country. Oh my God. That was ever a viable plot point.
Have the baby save the world? In the America you live in now, how is that not every movie?
Oh, it's coming. That's a grim reminder of the Handmaid's Tale that we're entering into.
Oh God, you're right. Yeah.
That propaganda will come later.
We already did that.
Have the baby save the world. Oh, my daughter said, should I read the Handmaid's Tale? And I was like, nah, you'll know the ending.
Actually, I guess Have the Baby Save the World was Children of Men, which was a really good movie.
Well, that was great. And rather insightful to the human condition.
Yeah.
And the last time Clive Owen was hot. I don't mean to objectify him, but no, I do. That's he's an actor.
Yes.
He was gorgeous in that. Oh my.
Now that is how you do like a rugged, tough-ass man who's also like...
He doesn't smile.
Doesn't smile. He's like nice eyes, very cruel, rugged, won't hesitate to shoot someone, but also like cares for a child. So I think he does a better job of being Dirk than Dirk does.
You're right. He does look cruel and gentle all at the same time. We found Dirk Pitt. It's a little late. I mean, he's...
Yeah. Clive Owen has like a permanent angry mouth. Just...
Oh, it's resting bitch face, but for men.
He always looks like he's speaking through clenched teeth is the vibe he gives off, which is really good for a lot of the roles he's in. Like, I mostly know him from Sin City.
I liked him in that. I also like that even though he does that, I could hear him, unlike Liam Neeson, who when he leans in to do I have a particular set of skills, I've got to put the subtitles on. Because it's the base. Men get to this, I have this whole thing, this whole conspiracy that biologically at a certain age, we are wired to tune out the other sex. Because we lose the highs and lows of our hearing range.
Oh, yeah.
And women are really high pitched and men are really deep. So it's just like...
So we just stop hearing each other? It's basic biology.
It's your friend. All right, good night, Topper. I'm going to let you go and let's download the stuff.
This has been Cussler Hustlers. Your hosts have been Topper and Nancy. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Cussler Hustlers.